Who has neck tension? I have neck tension. And I bet you might have neck tension. And if you don't, I'm really happy for you. And this practice might still feel really good and help free your breath and help your neck to be more relaxed so that the larynx is more responsive, might change your resonance, might change your feeling of well-being. Or if you have neck tension, you might get to experience what it's like to not have neck tension, at least for a few hours. We're going to be working with a double therapy ball. It's really important for this particular practice that your therapy balls be somewhat squishy. If all you have are lacrosse balls, maybe wait and get some softer therapy balls and do the foot video to break them in. If you really want to use your lacrosse balls and you want to do this right now, I would recommend that you put a blanket over them to diffuse the intensity, or to wrap the two of them up in like several big thick socks so that it's much, much softer and more pliant, because we're going to be working with the suboccipital region, which is the suboccipital is the base of the skull, and then also working a couple of spots on the neck. You're going to need a block for this particular practice because the two balls are going to be perched right there on the block, and then you're going to lay down on them. So we're going to start with the balls on the edge of the block so that the skull can sort of kind of hang down from there. In the first position, the back of your head will be supported by the block. In the subsequent positions, as we take the balls down the neck, then the head will be elevated slightly off the block. If that feels too vulnerable on your neck, if it's too intense, you could also use a blanket on the upper half of the block to support your head while you're still able to get the balls to nestle into the neck. So we're doing this lovely release for the cervical spine. So put the balls in place, recline back. You might want to put your hair up for this one. This is probably a hair up practice. And get that situated behind you. It's going to take a little trial and error to figure out how far away it needs to be. You can even place the balls right at the base of the skull and then adjust the block. Knees are bent, feet on the floor, and you can place your hands somewhere on the body that you can feel your breathing. I'm going to scooch my hips forward just a little bit. And as you do these practices, even if you've never done them before, you might have a sense of like, oh, I just need to move a little to the right or up or down a bit. Listen to that wisdom. Listen to your body, because you already know much, much more than you think, even if you've never done these practices before. So we'll settle into this position, feeling the breath, receiving the touch of the ball, noticing if one side of the skull feels a little heavier on the balls than the other, and also assessing, do I need a blanket? Do I need some additional support? Or are the balls too intense? Do I need to cover them with something to diffuse that? Now's a great time to make that adjustment. Begin to very slowly turn your head to the right. Feel that right ball take more weight. And then come back to center. Stay on the right. Turn to the right again. Very gently. And back to center. Turn to the right. And come back. And this time we'll stay over to the right and very gently nod yes. Getting a little bit deeper into the fascia on the base of the skull. A couple more times. Come back to center. And now gently turn to the left. Feel the left ball take more weight. Notice how this side feels compared to the other. And come back to center. Then turn. Easy, slow breath. One more time. And this time we stay, and gentle nod, yes. Yes, I deserve this time. Yes, I deserve this treatment. A few more. And come back to center. So now take your hands to the balls. Lift your head and roll the balls down so that they're right at the top of the neck. So we're in some new territory here with the ball on either side of the spine. So now the head, in my case, because I put my hair up, actually my bun is holding my head up, but you might, if you feel like your head needs support, you might put a blanket on top of the block underneath the head. Replace your hands back on your breath and maybe switch which hand is on top. We'll take a few moments here, as we did before, just to feel the breath, to receive the touch of the balls now on the upper neck. We'll begin our turning again to the right to start, and back to center. This might feel quite different than it did on the base of the skull. When I turn and then start to turn back, there's something in my mind that goes, no, stay. So we will stay, not quite yet. And there might be something in your mind going, no, don't go over there, it's so tight. And this time we'll stay and gently nod yes. This can be particularly helpful practice if you're spending a lot of time looking down at a screen rather than bringing the screen up to you, or looking down at a musical score. Those neck muscles get tired. And maybe turn a little bit further and breathe. And come back to center. Now we'll turn to the left. It's moving at your own pace. But knowing that we're not going from end point to end point. It's not about going from center all the way to the left. It's about that turn and feeling that deeper pressure all the way across. And 2 more times before we stay. And this time we stay. Over to the left, deepening that contact, and now gently nodding your head, yes. Feel the balls very gently roll up and down. We're almost in the territory of some jaw musculature, so you might find that your jaw is a little bit freer after this practice. Articulation and resonance might be a bit different. Turn a little bit further. And you might notice this side feels different than the other. That's normal. And come back to center. Take hold of the balls one more time. And now you might have to scoot yourself back a little bit so that the balls are right towards the lower third of the neck, getting towards the very, very top of the shoulders. So now for this one, the head might be quite elevated. You might take your hands behind the head, although I would prefer for you to be able to relax the arms and actually place either your hair in a bun or a blanket or towel or something underneath the head if you need it. If it feels good to have the cervical spine in a bit of extension with the chin lifted, then that's great. You get an additional stretch for the throat, but only if the neck doesn't feel too vulnerable there. And we breathe. And we receive, and we rhyme. And begin to turn to the right. Here the balls are really, really close to the edge of the block. So if they feel like they're going to roll off, you can just take your hands back to them and adjust. Trying to see, yeah, mine are secure. It's fascinating how it's all the same material, but different parts, even of the same body part, like different parts of the neck, can feel so different. This time, hold it over to the right and breathe and gently nod. Now the nod could be a little bit bigger here. We have a little bit more space. I almost feel myself wanting to kind of reach down towards the ball with my jaw. A little extra side bend. A couple more. And come back up and slowly back to center. And then we turn to the left. I say this often, but one of the great benefits of myofascial practice is that it slows us down. There's a lot of research suggesting that these practices can downregulate the nervous system, which can be ironic if they are sort of painful and yet calming. It's interesting. But I think the calming aspect has a lot to do with the slow movement, the presence of paying attention to the sensation happening right now, and the breath. 2 more times over to the right, the left. This time, hold it to that side and breathe. And gently nod yes and no. Now it's possible in this area that it could trigger a little headachy sensation. You might want to adjust the balls slightly if that's the case. A couple more yeses. We're turning the ear towards the shoulder to get a little deeper into the side. Then come back to center. Lift your head with one hand, gently remove the balls, and then slide the block back. I have to move the hair. Rest the head on the block. Let your shoulders soften, neck soften, jaw soften. This might be a great time for a shavasana if you want to take a resting pose. Otherwise, turn to one side. Use your hands to support you and keep your head hanging. Let it be the last thing that comes up. And seated here, just do a little inventory, a little movement of the head. My neck feels very, very different than before that practice. Now, if that was helpful for you, it might be tempting to do it every single day. And with myofascial practices, you can think of it like self-administered deep tissue massage, where we wouldn't want to massage deeply the same place every single day. The more tender it was the first time you did it, the more recovery time that area probably needs before treating it again in the same way. So maybe tomorrow you just do some sort of gentle hand massage, totally appropriate to do that the day after. But possibly, oh, I covered up the mic, possibly waiting until the day after tomorrow, or even maybe 2 days later to see how it feels. And know that if you have a little bit of stiffness tomorrow, that's also a very common thing that happens after this type of massage. So nothing to be concerned about there. You just want to maybe move around to help that loosen up. If you have questions about this practice or any other, you can leave a comment where you saw this video, or you can reach out to me at embodiedsinger@gmail.com. And I wish you a free, easy, happy neck and a free, easy, happy day. Have a good one.